Well, hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura, and I am joined today by my one and only co-host Ryan. Oh, he's doing you're doing a cool burp.
Blew a bubble.
You do bubble burp. Because we're talking about the 2023 comedy drama, ? Poor Things. We're on part 2 of Yorgos Lanthimos festival, which we didn't name it because there's only 2 so far that we've done, and that's probably the only 2 for a bit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, until unless Kinds of Kindness comes out and it's just absolutely chock-a-block full of dingling dongs.
Can't wait.
Yeah, well, we'll see. That film actually looks interesting. I like the fact that he's going back to doing something that's a little bit more, I guess, less fantasy based. He's done a lot of period stuff. He's done, obviously,
the last two.
Poor Things is very much kind of hinged on being quite fantasy-esque. Kind of like a far past future. There's a lot of future, like past future-y technology, as well as kind of, all those sorts of stuff, which I like about it. Kind of reminds me of Mobius, his illustrations, and like Art Nouveau.
Morbius?
No, Mobius.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's not Morbin time.
I thought it was really excited that we were about to morb up over here.
No, Jean-Pierre Mobius, who's like the celebrated French illustrator.
Oui.
Yes, of course.
Did you just say?
Well, you didn't know, so
No.
you've learned something today. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to his new movie that's coming out.
I'm super excited. We're so riding this beautiful wave of Poor Things still.
Yes.
Even today. And we already have a new one to look forward to. So that's rad. Super rad.
Well, I think the thing is that this film finished shooting in 2021.
Yeah.
But then it was in post-production for more than a year. The only reason we know that, we watched the Robbie Ryan, he's the DP, he did a little thing where it's like, yeah, we shot the movie, and then a year later, because they were doing VFX and stuff, he went in to color the movie, and then it didn't come out until 2023. So
yeah, that was an interesting little thing about Robbie Ryan.
Yes, I like stuff like that where he kind of goes through the intricacies and the lenses they used. What you will find with Poor Things, and I don't want to like dilute it too far because there's obviously a lot more going on than just how it looks. But yeah, you can. Every single scene is characterized by kind of 3 main things: is like super wide, like fisheye wides. Lots of slow zooms in ins and outs, which he referred to as like developing shots. And then also you have the fisheye vignettes, which was what they would call the 4 miller. So if like Yorgos wanted to go a little bit extra, like deliberately extra with like a moment in the movie, they would bring out the 4 miller. But yeah, like also Robbie, they primarily shot on those kind of 2 lenses. I'm sure there's more lenses, but you can tell which ones have been shot on this particular lens. Certainly when they zoom it in, I think they do like a 10 mil to 100 millimeter zoom. It's like this huge piece of glass. But
yeah.
you can tell from the bokeh when it's zoomed in for a close up that it's definitely like there's a lot of chromatic abrasion, because it's in a 1:6:6 format, which I think they refer to as a VistaVision.
Yeah.
Which is an old 50s format, which is not so much widescreen, but it's kind of like a slightly wider 4:3. So it's just kind of on the cusp of that. But you can tell like just kind of the way it's shot, 'cause this was shot on film as well. So like when you see the bokeh, which is I would say it's like the the out of focus parts in a shot is what I would refer to it as. They have like a very particular shape, and it kind of looks like it has like a circular blur that goes around. You can see the vignetting from the lens as well. So
I want to talk more about Robbie Ryan, but let me just tell you who's in the film if you didn't already know. This film stars Emma Stone. I didn't know her name was Emily, her real name. And I've seen in a few interviews where she's really excited when people call her by her real name, which I'm not going to do because I don't know her. And I feel like it's a bit personal.
We watched a few interviews with the Digital Spy. And the interviewer was someone that I'd worked with before, someone called Clarice Lowry, who's someone I made a music video with. She was a would-be actor back in the day. I think it was like 2013.
We should send her a message.
I mean, I don't think we need to.
We can send her this episode. We'll send it to her. Don't worry. We'll send it right to her.
Great.
Emma Stone plays Bella Baxter. Mark Ruffalo is Duncan Wedderburn. Willem Dafoe is Godwin Baxter. And Ramy Youssef is Max McCandles. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, as we already know.
Yes, we already pointed that out.
And yeah, so Robbie Ryan, I wrote down, really surprised me. I don't know why he seemed so familiar, and then it made sense because he worked on Red Road, Fish Tank, American Honey, which were all directed by Andrea Arnold.
Yes.
He also worked with Noah Baumbach. He shot Marriage Story, and he did a bunch.
That movie looks real good.
Yeah, and he did a bunch of Ken Loach stuff as well.
Wow. Okay.
So that's why he's very familiar.
Yeah.
Seems like a nice fella.
Well, he seems like he's got a quite a wide array of like styles.
Yeah.
But yeah, there'll be something kind of at the heart of his stuff that kind of ties everything together. I mean, I like the look of all of his stuff because he's obviously worked primarily with I don't want to call them like low budget filmmakers, but certainly Andrea Arnold and Ken Loach aren't doing 100 and 200 million dollar pictures.
Right.
So, and certainly they're very much hinged within realism cinema. Certainly Ken Loach,
it was fun watching that interview with him because he seemed like he was having such a nice time doing weird shit.
Yeah, because it sounds like they were actually having fun. Because as much as this is a kind of very out there, kind of hyper fantasy, it's very much at the heart of it. It's a comedy drama. It's very funny. It's very knowingly funny. And I think we've done Dogtooth, and I think just as a development of his style, Dogtooth is an incredibly uncomfortable film to watch. But on repeated viewings, you can definitely see this is like pitch black humor that he's going for here.
Yeah.
What he has with Poor Things is, I think it's a greater distillation of this, like the tonal shifts in his films where it can be quite dramatic, but then at other points it just veers completely, T-bones its dramatic effect into being like a kind of, like a weird comedy, like strangely. And I think Emma Stone, and I definitely think that Mark Ruffalo, and less so Willem Dafoe, but I think Willem Dafoe, like a lot of the writing is so strong, like the dialogue is so strong that it allows, because it is so deadpan and it's so kind of it has so much conviction in the material that you're taken along for the ride. So you're adjusting to, because for me personally with Dogtooth, it's like, Jesus Christ, like this seems very realistic. But then when you adjust to kind of how it is, as opposed to say Poor Things, which is, from the most part, it's a world that you kind of recognize, but not so recognize. Kind of, I would say, like kind of hyper realistic. It's sort of kind of like Jacques Tati, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, like sort of world that's kind of off kilter. It's kind of like warped. It's like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari sort of type. So it's like it's relatable and understandable, but it's also it's slightly out there. Certainly when you see like a duck dog, or the dog duck, or the pig chicken.
Yeah.
or the pig dog.
Some of them I worry about their proportions
Yeah, I think
and weight distribution.
I definitely did think about that when I was like, well, look, you can't just you can put the duck head on the dog, but the dog head on the duck, I don't think that's going to work. Like that per animal's not going to float.
So I need to get into the synopsis from Letterboxd, which is brought back to life by an unorthodox scientist. A young woman runs off with a lawyer on a whirlwind adventure across the continents. Free from the prejudices of her times, she grows steadfast in her purpose to stand for equality and liberation. And the tagline is, she's like nothing you've ever seen.
Do you not like that tagline?
Nope.
Hate it.
But the description is just fine.
It's perfectly okay. There's...
Runs off with a rakish lawyer.
He is a rakish he's a cad.
Oh my gosh.
He is
Mark?
He's the standout role in this film.
Mark gives me life. Mark makes me laugh so much.
Yes.
Mark is a goddamn national treasure.
Yeah.
And we should all just be happy that we're alive in the same world as Mark Ruffalo.
Everybody in the movie is very good. I think Emma Stone carries the film.
She's incredible.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to just shout out Mark Ruffalo so freaking hard, but Emma Stone is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You kind of expect nothing less.
She's wonderful.
Of her.
Ever since Superbad, Easy A, back in the day, I love Emma Stone.
Really? You would say that, well, I mean, she's good in Superbad, but she doesn't carry the movie.
No, she doesn't carry that, obviously. That's left to Jonah Hill.
Yeah. I mean, I'd go
too.
back to the Amazing Spider-Man films. I think she's really good in that first one.
No, she's a great Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, she's
Those
great.
Films are fine. Yeah. She was great in Easy A. Do you remember that? Did you see that one?
I don't know. Isn't there another one she was in?
She's in a lot.
There's tons of stuff that she's in. La La Land I can do without.
They're both just so beautiful. Oh, also the one with Steve Carell.
Oh yeah, is it? It's not Dirty Rotten Stranger, Scoundrel. Sorry, it's no, the one with Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling.
Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love. There we go. Yeah, she's good in that movie.
That's great. Everyone's great. Everyone's very beautiful. Okay.
Well, everyone,
we all love her.
Yeah, everyone falls in love with her immediately.
She's cute. She's
because she's funny.
She's funny and she seems like a genuine human being.
Yeah, she does.
So.
I mean, I would say that she's pretty much a standout performance. Like she is.
Well, she won an Oscar again.
I don't like using the Oscars as like a barometer for quality because they celebrated Oppenheimer quite a bit this year. But.
Lack of dicks in Oppenheimer. What a joke. The way Cillian Murphy crossed his legs as if he's never shown that penis before makes me sick.
I would also like to point out that the film did so well at making sure that its male stars got all of the attention and all of the females, all of the women who were playing roles in that film pretty much looked like 2D cardboard cutouts.
These women are just crazy, and they're just here to serve these genius men.
I have no idea why Christopher Nolan continues to make films.
Do you know he's going to be knighted?
I mean...
Did you hear that?
Yeah, but Danny Boyle was going to be knighted, and he went, fuck that.
Well, he's a cool guy.
It doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. What, fucking Sausage Fingers is going to come up to him and fucking knight him? Good for him. Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Contributions to cinema. It's like, well done. Congratulations for the first 2/3 of The Dark Knight. Like, okay. Thanks.
I'm going to choke.
Yeah. Will he be the White Knight?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't hate Christopher Nolan stuff. I'm kind of bamboozled by how much attention he gets. Because he's like the bro cinephile choice.
I was going to say that I like him as a person. I think he's a cool dude probably based on how much he likes the Fast and Furious franchise, but
That's fine. I feel like he is championed in such a way that just kind of makes it slightly detestable.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, really? Because like Following's good. Memento's really good. I have a really soft spot for Insomnia because no one really likes that movie, but I think it's better than the original. And then I also like The Prestige. The Batman movies I could really do without. Like, I really don't care for them too much.
I do like the first couple.
And
Batman
Interstellar
movies.
is actually very good again up until like the ending. So that's the only issue I kind of have with that movie.
Fine. He's fine. You know who's even better? Alistair Gray, who wrote the novel Poor Things back in 1992.
A fellow Scotsman.
There you go.
So.
Which I know a lot of Scots people were really pissed off that this turned into an English film. Kind of. Like everyone has English accents. I don't know what the accent that Willem Dafoe is putting on. I think it's meant to be like some sort of pseudo-Scots accent.
It's kind of weird. It's sort of like very similar, but slightly different to the accent he had in The Lighthouse, which was kind of like the old New England sort of accent that he had in that.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, I don't really have too many issues with that. I kind of, like, I feel like it gets bundled together as, like, we're doing a period thing, and this is also kind of like a farcical comedy. Like, this is what it would be like on this stage. Because Yorgos he did The Favourite, and that's obviously slightly more of a period piece.
Well, that's definitely an English
Yes.
based
and
film.
that
This
English.
is not. It is now, but
Yes, but I also forgive it for the fact that it's also fantasy. It's also not real. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens in it that isn't real.
what makes me a little bit bummed out is this movie. The idea of the egg of the idea, right? Or the seed, maybe the seed, started back in 2009. So Yorgos messaged or got in touch with Alistair Gray back in 2009 and went to Scotland and met with him. And Alistair took him around Glasgow and showed him all the places where he thought, oh, I think this is where this should go. I think this is where you could shoot this thing. And because he wrote the book based in that area. So he knew exactly where all the inspiration came from. And after that meeting, he gave Yorgos yes, you can adapt my book. And this is the first adaptation he's ever done. But he passed away, obviously, so we never got to see it on screen because that took so long to do.
As someone who's familiar with his artwork more than, say, like his novelizations, I have a friend in Glasgow. Her mother's house. Alistair Gray was a friend of hers, so he painted a mural in her hallway. For me personally, I think Poor Things does a fantastic job of capturing the nature and the artistic stylings of Alistair Gray. I think it does a fantastic job of taking a lot of that, a lot of the kind of finery from his artwork, and then putting it into this. From someone who I haven't read the book. I would be interested in reading the book, but to me, I'm not too taken aback by the fact that, you know, it's not a wholly Scottish story. I feel like as an adaptation, I'm quite happy with the fact that it's as weird and as wild as it is. And I wouldn't say people feel English. I feel like they're nondescript is what I would say.
I guess I could see that where sometimes American films especially, but, you know, maybe other directors, European directors will go like, you know, it's foreign. It's English. Yeah. We'll just do it English because it's just, people can understand it and it's just fine. We'll make it foreign, make it English.
Well, you don't want it to have like a Sweet 16 sort of feel where they have to start putting subtitles on it because they haven't got an idea what the Neds are saying. I mean, that's kind of... My whole thing
Yeah,
with
if
it
everyone
was that
had a real, if Emma Stone had a thick Glaswegian accent, real thick.
I don't know if she would have been able to pull it off.
No,
I'm not too
probably-
sure.
I mean, maybe it would be hard.
I don't know
It's
how
hard
well,
to
I don't
do.
know. I don't know how internationally, like an audience would relate to her if she had a thick Glaswegian accent.
It's not as I'm not going to
Welcoming.
say it. Okay, you can say it, maybe not.
Yeah,
me.
I mean it's something. It's just yeah. I don't know. Like I like to think of it. It's not so much it's English. It's that it's nondescript. But it to me it captures kind of like the heart and soul of Alistair Gray, which was I think the film does a fantastic job of that. And it does.
Yeah.
It transports you and it takes you to a world. It takes you on a journey, and I think you can overlook that because I'm not necessarily fussed about that. I'm not that attached to the material that I would be like.
Yeah, we're not on the soapbox about it because we haven't read it.
They've done Alistair a disservice. It's like I don't really have anything to say on the subject. So I think the film for what it is great.
Didn't we walk in just a tiny bit late? I feel like. I just remember when we walked in, it was incredibly surreal because you had that really, really wide angle. And she's got her feet on the piano and there's, animals walking around. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. Because I try my hardest not to watch trailers personally. I feel like they give away too much. And I like to be surprised.
Trailers nowadays give away way too much.
This is why I show up to the theater 20 minutes late every time. Because I don't want to see the trailers because they just ruin everything.
Well, it's also my pet peeve. I don't like turning up late because I'll watch a trailer for a film that I'm not interested in seeing than missing the first few minutes of the film. I think we did miss the first couple of minutes of the film, but from all I gather, all we missed was either we open on quilts, just close-up shots of quilts, and then her suicide.
Right.
And then I think, is it just the title? And then that's it.
And then you're in the black and white.
The thing I do like about this movie is it uses different film stocks and it definitely shoots on film. This isn't a digitally shot film. They're using proper lenses on proper 35mm, and they're using different stocks to create different effects, and it's all mostly practical. I think a lot of the effects and stuff that are done in the movie, they're very minimal, but you wouldn't notice them because I think they took a year for a reason.
Well, they shot it in Budapest, and it was all on sound stages. They built every single set. They had
Mostly every set.
They had painted backgrounds, like for the ship. We watched that funny interview about the ship and the painted background. I think that's really great. That's my favorite. That's my favorite shit.
But there's actual water.
I don't know how they did it.
I think they said there was actual water to the point where like it was rocking so hard that the waves would lap up onto the stage.
I thought that was a bit of movie magic, but yeah, it was amazing.
Either way, I
love that stuff.
Yeah. Well, they said the sound stage was the size of like 4 football pitches. So they could have filled it with water. Either way, there's a lot of fantastic set design in it. It's very Art Nouveau. Like I just got a lot of Art Nouveau vibes from it, because there's not a straight line in the film, which is by virtue of the fact that like they're shooting on a lot of fisheye lenses and obviously super wides, which is like, from your 4mm to like say like a 14mm, and then kind of after that. But there's so much warping in the scenes as well. So there's not really a lot of straight lines. Everything's kind of flowing, and certainly all the dresses and all of the clothing and stuff that people wear is very flowy.
So great.
Yeah. So it has a really big kind of Art Nouveau look and feel about it. Very organic, I guess, is what I would probably refer to it as.
So just as they did for The Favorite, they spent 3 weeks doing kind of rehearsals and doing improv games together, the cast. So 8 hours a day in a rehearsal room in the Budapest studio. They played trust games where like someone had to slide a chair under a person with their eyes closed before they sat down. They did acrobatics, made machines out of human bodies, and played like puppet master with each other's limbs.
Okay.
And Yorgos had Mark Ruffalo look at a dance company called Peeping Tom that were out of Belgium in order to kind of see how they moved, because everyone moves in interesting ways. I mean, obviously Bella, but she had to figure that out on her own. She said, Emma Stone said she ended up watching videos of babies trying to walk, and she goes, it was not helpful. She had to figure out like a whole new thing on her own.
Yeah. There's her arc at least is relatively quite well defined, but I think that it's one of those sort of character arcs that if you were to watch the movie with the sound off, you would understand from the way her body language develops from the beginning of the film to the end of the film.
Even just her facial expressions, the way her eyes move.
Just the way she carries herself.
Yeah.
Like by the end of the film as well. Like her... Yeah, because she's less wobbly, less kind of, she's less...
stiff-legged.
Yeah, she's like incredibly stiff, and just her exaggerated facial expressions to the point where it's kind of like while she begins to educate herself, the sternness and the exacting nature of her character starts to show through a little bit more.
Yeah. Willem Dafoe had 4 hours of makeup. He had to get up and be in makeup by 3 a.m.
Well, he looks all fucked up. Because his
He's
father
your
used to do things to him.
Your Frankenstein doctor,
He
Dr.
is,
Frankenstein.
He is Dr. Frankenstein. That is one of the beautiful things I do like about this film is its incredibly kitschy kind of little references to like either your universal Frankenstein, like your James Whale Frankenstein, or kind of your B-movie horrors and stuff with like the lightning and the gadgetry and stuff like that, which I quite respect.
Yeah, he's like Frankenstein's monster and Frankenstein at the same time.
Yeah, because he's all sorts of fucked up. Isn't there a line in the movie where it's just like, yeah, no, we were testing to see if whether or not the human body needed its organs, and then we found out the result was, yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but yeah, he's all kinds of fucked up. But he comes from a history of other men who've tried to progress science one way or another.
Well, no, his father was the one who did all of his father was the one who did all those horrible experiments to him.
Yes.
So, yeah, he's just carrying on the trend. It made me think, and I thought about this more. This was my third time watching it. And I'm like, is he a good person? Is Godwin Baxter a good person?
I would say that he has been conditioned a certain way, but that he has allowed his inherent humanity to cloud his judgment when it came to Bella.
Right, but just even doing the things that he did, doing all of the experiments, because he hides himself away. It's not as though he takes his experiments and puts them out to say, look at the amazing thing I've done. Look at this goose dog. Look at this pig chicken. Look at this woman whose fetus's brain I took out and then stuck it in her head. And then, like that's all sorts of fucked up.
Yeah. It's maniacal.
And he did it again.
Yeah.
He did it a couple times.
But I would say that some of the things that he is doing is diabolical, but he has come from being conditioned to such a degree that the diabolical is just his way, his coping. So that because he doesn't have friends other than the ones that he creates.
He just thought about whether he could and not about whether he should.
Ooh. Oh boy.
I didn't get that quote exactly right, but
No, you didn't. It was...
What is it?
But at least the dramatic pause was there.
You liked it? Okay. I'll take it. My favorite story from this film is how Willem Dafoe pranked Mark Ruffalo in such a fucked up, horrible way. Because if you've seen any of the interviews with Ruffalo, he was having a hard imposter syndrome on the set. Hard. Before he even got the role, he goes to Yorgos, "Are you sure you want me to do this? I've never done anything like this before." He'd never been in a period piece. He's never done an accent. And he goes, "I don't think I'm right for this," because he's typically played a good boy.
Yeah.
He's always been a good boy, and he's playing a bad boy. He's not really playing a bad boy. I don't think he's that terrible.
Not. He's kind of like this weird comedy relief.
Yeah.
Like he's this kind of cad, this man who thinks he's all and everything. And
trust me, when I watched this again, I thought, I'd probably fall for that shit. I'd fall for that Duncan Wedderburn.
He's incredibly funny.
He's, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be into it. Like, oh, you're going to take me to Lisbon? And you're going to, yeah.
Like,
promise me all these sexy things. Yeah, let's
bone you into next week. Yeah.
I'm into the furious jumping with Duncan Wedderburn. He says he's the best.
Time for a siesta. Yeah.
He snores. So that's a thing.
Yes.
So Mark Ruffalo's having imposter syndrome, and Willem Dafoe's placating him every day. Like, you're good enough. You're good enough. You can do this. But what Mark Ruffalo found out is that Oscar Isaac, the actor Oscar Isaac, was filming in Budapest at the same time in the same studio. And Willem Dafoe and Oscar Isaac had worked together previously on The Card Counter, which we've done on the podcast. And so after all of this nonsense where Mark Ruffalo's going around going, they're going to get Oscar Isaac to replace me. They're going to get him in. I'm going to lose my job. And Willem Dafoe goes, you know what? I'm going to go talk to him. So Dafoe goes and talks to Oscar Isaac and gets him in on the joke. And one day during lunch brings Oscar Isaac in, and they both pretend that Oscar Isaac is taking Mark Ruffalo's job, which didn't last very long, obviously. And it was just a funny joke, but I think that maybe shook off a bit of his fears. Hopefully.
It's one of the standout comedy performances from an actor in a long time. He's great. There's other things where, because they rehearsed for so long and they did all of those funny improv things for weeks and weeks at a time. And there were things that Mark Ruffalo ended up doing on set that Willem Dafoe saw him do in rehearsal, and he goes, "You're not actually going to do that in the film, right?" And then he goes and does it. Yeah. There's some bonkers shit that Ruffalo does that crack me up. Like, I've seen it 3 times. I'm cackling. Yeah.
At some of the shit that Ruffalo does.
Mm-hmm. Even just the spare frames where you're just seeing his eyes widen and things just like start to crack in his brain are like incredible moments. I mean, I don't know. Like we spoke about Mark Ruffalo in the cut, unfortunately, and then he felt like he wasn't able to perform that role, but then he is the best actor in that entire film.
Apparently he does that every time. His wife said it to him. She goes, you do this every time.
Oh, really? He doubts himself?
He does it every single time he
kind of sounds like me.
Yeah, and then you're great. So what's to worry about?
Yeah, we'll see.
Even Yorgos, when he was going back and forth, Yorgos goes, "You are him. Like, you're him," and was just laughing at him.
Yeah.
He's like, "You don't have to worry about it. You are this guy. Don't worry about it." So, yeah, it's adorable.
Yeah.
They had an intimacy coordinator on set who I just befriended on Instagram. I found her. Anyway, we're going to be really good friends. I'm going to send her a message. But she's, back there giving you thumbs up from the behind the camera. She's giving you notes on technique. And Emma, I think, became really good friends with her because she would kind of text her after particular scenes, and they would just kind of be like, "How are you feeling? How's it going? Like, is everything going well?" And I think that that rehearsal process really kind of helped the intimacy between especially Ruffalo and Emma Stone. And the intimacy coordinator was apparently just so valuable on that set to make everyone just feel like they were going in the right direction and doing things the way that made everyone feel comfortable and made sense for the scenes.
Okay.
So.
Good. Laura, I am expecting a hug of solace.
Why?
Because we're getting on to the Dixie. We got to Paris.
So we're in Paris, but we're going to skip. You want to skip that first one? You want to skip the 9 minutes and 54 seconds into the film where when Bella's in the operating room and she's playing with that cadaver's penis and she picks it up and plays with it and then stabs his eyes out over and over and again and goes squish, 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 squish.
Does that count as a cadaver though? Because it's I thought a cadaver was just like the chest area.
Is a cadaver the chest area? I should know that.
Because otherwise it's a corpse. If it's the cadaver, then it's the chest area without the limbs and the head. I thought was the cadaver. I might be wrong, but I've listened to a lot of death metal for years. A
cadaver's a corpse. It's a synonym.
Oh, really?
It's a synonym.
Maybe so.
I like that you get your anatomy information from death metal.
Pretty much, yeah. That's how I found out. That's how I found out what a gunt was.
What's that?
So a gunt is the.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Some of my favorite uses of the word cunt in this film, by the way, said by Mark Ruffalo. I need to make memes out of him. So
I think we're glossing over that first one because I don't think it's real, and you keep on going on about like, well, dicks are kind of rubbery, which kind of makes me feel bad. And then
they're soft, and your lip pull. I'm sorry, we don't have to go into this. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry, but she couldn't have got away with doing that and tugging on that guy's penis without him moving around. Like it's like a reaction. Like it would just happen. There's no way.
Potentially,
no way.
I just couldn't find any research on it. So I'm just saying that there's a penis. Eventually, we will do, corpse dicks on the podcast as a whole separate series.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them.
Tons of them.
So, talk about Chinatown.
Let's just talk about the real ones and living people.
So, it starts when our dear Bella Baxter is in Paris and she's making money as a
prostitute,
a sex worker.
Yeah, she goes to the brothel, the local brothel.
I love it. She goes, it seems like a serendipitous situation.
Yeah.
I need to make money and a place to stay, and I can go learn and live my life, and it only takes me 20 minutes.
Well, it's because she enjoys having sex.
Hell yeah.
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 So
I love it. Very sex positive. I'm so down with that.
Yes.
So her first client, we see him nude. Did I already say it was 1 hour, 27 minutes and 15 seconds?
You didn't, but you said it now.
So this is her first client. So this is before she and Duncan Wedderburn part ways initially. And this man is the 3-pump chump, as you described him.
I did describe him as a 3-pump chump. I thought he was a 1-pump chump, but I was incorrect because she said three thrusts and he was done.
Yeah.
So
she tried not to laugh and be polite.
Yeah, because I was like, well, she did laugh.
Of course.
She did laugh, because he was done really, really quickly. Which kind of goes to show that, like, with women, like, there has to be an element of longevity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a friction element to an orgasm that is important.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes 100% of the time it takes longer than 3 pumps.
That poor guy.
He's not in it for her. He's not trying to pleasure her.
In and out, and it's basically like he has to pay the same amount of money.
But he's happy to do it because that's all it takes for him.
That's all he needs.
Yeah.
But I
lad.
did refer to him as the 3-pump chump.
Yeah, I've met a fellow
I do like
that,
when she walks in and
pretty bad.
he's completely. What did you say?
What?
What did you say?
It just reminds me of someone I met a long time ago, and it was like a similar thing. It just was really,
Oh no!
really funny.
Oh, why'd you have to bring it up here on a public podcast that we put out to the world?
Editor, fix it.
Well, thank God it was a long time ago, like longer than when we met, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm no 3-pump chump.
No, this was like
I'm the 1-pump chump. I just do one big pump and it's done.
You do that thing like the Mormons. It's just called soaking.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what we do in our house.
Yeah, I just leave it in there. Yeah. No, it's just one big pump and everyone comes multiple times.
It's crazy, guys. It's in the Kama Sutra.
Yeah. I'm like One Punch Man, except I'm one pump man. Oh dear. But yeah.
That whole scene also after she has sex with that guy is very, very funny. And she gets a chocolate eclairs. Duncan Wedderburn's so upset.
We'll also point out, just for safety's sake, that like that's not what I'm like. I'm a fantastic lover.
Yes, this is a podcast. We are joking. I don't know why I said that. Like I paused. Sorry.
What are we joking about? Me being a fantastic lover, or what? Like
no, the whole the story was a joke.
Right. Okay.
The one pump man's a joke. I don't know why I need to explain that. I don't know why you needed to explain it either.
Well, when I do the one pump,
now it's weird.
When it like slaps against like your crotch area, you see the sound waves come out as well, and people can hear it.
Oh, that's from the anime.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I bet. I don't know. I bet Saitama fucks.
Is that from the anime?
Yeah, because his name is Saitama. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do like that anime, that book. Anyway, I do like the book. But anyway, carry on.
In the same sequence of events, an hour, 38 minutes, and about 52 seconds, this guy, who is also a standout character, doesn't even have a line in the film.
No.
Spider-Man comes in. Oh my God. What a treat, that man.
Well, it's just after Cheese to Meet You happens, and the guy won't stop laughing.
Knock, knock.
Well, he's on all fours.
Do it.
He's like also, what do you mean?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Cheese. Do it. You have to answer me.
I don't know if that's correct. How is that? I don't think...
It's fromage, and he went fromage qui, which is cheese who.
Oh, cheese who?
That's what fromage qui means.
Well, I don't know French. I've told you this. You keep on saying things in French,
knock,
and I don't
knock.
understand you. Who's there?
Cheese.
Cheese who?
Cheese to meet you.
Oh, God.
It's
not that good. Yeah, it's not that good.
It's adorable.
Anyway, the guy's on all fours and he's kind of crawling around on the floor like an insect. And he also has he has a face that looks like a chameleon. I hate to say that, and it's not his fault, but like he does have a face like a chameleon.
It's a very interesting mix of men.
Like 360-degree vision.
I think that it's nice to see a different variety of men. You don't see every man naked, but that's okay.
These are characters, like genuine characters. There's a lot of these kind of off the beaten path sort of main leads. They're all interesting to look at characters.
Yeah.
Because like when that first client's there, like he's there smoking a pipe.
Yeah. And
he looks interesting. And everybody else looks interesting. Like they have like a character about them, you know, body shapes and stuff aside. There's
like that hot priest who comes in and she's like, God gave you a gift. And he goes, it's my addiction.
Wow.
En français.
Yeah, well, you know.
Duolingo has done me well. I tell you what, I can understand everything they said in French in that movie.
Wow, look at you. It would be like you haven't been learning French for almost, 5 years.
No, way longer than that.
Yeah, so, you know, if you haven't learned anything by this point, I'd be asking for your fucking money back.
Oui. Mark Ruffalo was saying that, and I don't know, have other people noticed this? We've probably talked about this before, but it seems that, you know, quote, the young people are finding that sex in film in cinema isn't important and they don't want it and they don't need it, which I think is fucking strange because it serves a purpose for a lot of things. There's films that we've done on the podcast where we go, that wasn't really necessary.
I think.
But it's strange that the young are finding sex scenes shocking.
Well, I would say this, that let's just say like us, like ourselves, and we're say like elder millennials, if you want to call it. I hate fucking categorizing ourselves. We were born in the 80s and here we are. I would say
why
that.
does it have to say elder in the front of it? That's lame.
I mean, I get.
Doesn't
Well, I
make me
mean,
feel
after Gen Z, it goes back to Alpha. Did you know that?
I feel like they change it all the time as well, because we were at one time
Alpha.
Y. We were Generation Y.
As in, why the fuck do we exist? Why is everything
Like after
going
Gen
wrong?
X, that was us, and now we're
yeah.
millennials. But then millennials are younger than us, so it's all fucking dumb.
It is very dumb. I will say that certainly as we were growing up, I do remember it was in very much a kind of generation where sex sold. So
Oh yeah, that's what we grew up on.
that's what we grew up on.
We grew up on the erotic thriller, baby.
And I would
my bread and butter.
I would go so far as like if you were into video games, you saw a tradition at say game conventions where you have like booth babes and you had like lads mags and you had page 3 and all these sorts of things. And that's all stuff that's kind of like faded away because of obviously, taste and such what. And I would also say that with this current generation who are just like, we're not interested in sex as a storytelling mechanic, is that they are, there's like less of an intention, certainly with sex, where it's like sex to breed, sex to have fun, or sex just in general is like, it feels like this kind of dirty idea. So you have a lot of people who feel like they're asexual or they just don't need to partake in that sort of thing because it's not like a defining characteristic. They're looking for more of a kind of emotional bond with certain people, which I think is kind of more now. I don't really give a fuck. Like, I wouldn't mind, I like fucking.
Why not both?
Yeah, why not both? But at the same time, I can understand why using it as, say, like a storytelling mechanic, they could say potentially that it's maybe a little bit trite. I don't agree.
No.
Because
it's also a part of life,
Very much so, yes.
It's why life exists. So, and it's...
But if we've learned anything from, say, looking at social media or looking at TikTok at this kind of current generation, is they all tend to be kind of contrary. For the sake of being contrary. And that's not to kind of put it out there to be like, if something's not the status, anything that goes against the status quo, I kind of feel. And I feel like that kind of ages me a little bit. Like, I feel like that makes me feel a little bit like a granddad where I'm just like, well, you just want to be different, don't you? Listening to your punk music.
Makes you sound like a hipster.
It does make me sound like a hipster. But at the same time, like, I mean, I dress like a fucking asshole. Like, for the most part, like, I wear colors and stuff, and I'm very kind of bright and colorful. I do
You wear colors that makes you an asshole?
I dress like fucking goofy. Like, I do. Like, I dress like a goofball.
You're a trousers and t-shirt man. I don't even know what you're talking about. You seem pretty on point to me.
I'm a basic man, but like I think
you're a fashion forward gentleman.
I roll up my trouser cuffs and I wear fancy shoes that have the illustrations of
you're a fancy shoe guy.
Keith Haring and stuff on them, and I represent.
Okay, I have more things to say about Mark Ruffalo. So,
I just wanted to put it out there.
You wanted to put forward that you're a fashion man. I understand, and everyone knows you're a fashion boy.
I wanted a balanced argument for why.
You want a new balanced argument for shoes.
Kids today don't want to see a slow-mo against the window romantic scene like we saw in Top Gun.
They don't want to see Patrick Swayze boning a chick up against a really hard rocky fireplace. Just kidding. We do. Okay, so Mark Ruffalo says that trend with young people thinking sex scenes are shocking. He's like, it's weird. There's an explosion of pornography in this one sense, and then a total move towards prudishness on a mass media side. He said that he's very sex positive in his house. And he doesn't like how a lot of things can be kind of reduced to a trauma plot in terms of sex in cinema.
Yeah.
Instead of having more of a more naturalistic, casual, this is sex, this is life, this is learning, this is relationships, et cetera, et cetera. Sex doesn't have to be trauma. It sometimes is, unfortunately, but
Yeah, I guess, when you see like a such a build up and a boom of, I guess like you talk about like harassment and the way that things have changed online, and certainly because of that, like, stories come to the fold, and certainly the Me Too movement was a big thing, and people are more willing to talk about their trauma if they dealt with anything as they were younger. So, there is a lot of that stuff. Like, I am sympathetic to a certain degree, but I do think the idea of things being shocking is just a characterization of the young generation at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, Emma Stone said that for the camera to shy away from sex, or to just say like, okay, we'll cut all of this out because our society functions in a particular way, for this film would be disingenuous. It would have a lack of being honest about who Bella is. And Emma Stone, she goes, I'm not a person that wants to be naked all the time, but I am someone who wants to honor the characters as fully as I can, which...
That makes sense.
Of course, yeah, because you're an actor, and that's fine. It's interesting reading and seeing all these interviews.
For her in this character, for them to shy away from that particular aspect would be weird.
It'd be super weird. And
Very
we were
strange.
talking about this when we were watching the movie earlier, how I never thought, because I do research and I'm trying to figure out, what is the take from the director.
Research?
I sure do. I do my job.
Well, this stuff didn't just come from you.
But I try to figure out what is their take on nudity, and I'm specifically trying to figure out male nudity, as you might have noticed. But
yeah, we're only 70 something episodes deep into this thing. Yeah,
have you noticed? But it's interesting that everyone's asking about Emma Stone's nudity, which I did not particularly take note of. It just seemed to make sense to me, and it didn't seem out of the ordinary, and it didn't seem over the top or gratuitous or inappropriate in any way whatsoever. But of course I'm looking for penises, so I see those and I want to know more about those. But everyone's asking Emma Stone about that, and she goes, I'm just doing my job, and it made sense for the character, and I'm honored. And she loves, like, if you hear her talk about playing Bella Baxter, she's very upset to not be playing that character anymore. She loved it. It was very freeing for her, and I think that's really nice.
Yeah. I guess we're kind of like, we're a hard comparison to make in general, because we are just looking at like, oh, there's like, because to me, like, nudity is not shocking.
No, it's definitely not. But I think for us, shining a light on how we do,
when it's used incorrectly and it starts to become a little bit gauche and it's a little bit gross, then yeah, that's slightly different. Because certainly we had that with 9 songs, where it's just kind of like, it just feels endless, and you're like, I'm not interested in this. But like, when it happens, but it feels intrinsic to like the telling of a story, then I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fine with it. Like, I don't. It's not to say that I don't notice it, but it's also like I'm incredibly desensitized to like a lot of things, be it violence and sex and nudity and stuff in films in particular. I think if I saw it, out in the real world, that'd be slightly different. But yes, I am slightly more desensitized. We are slightly more desensitized to certain things because of, our age and what we've been exposed to during the course of our lives. So
Yeah, I mean, Yorgos is saying that it startles him how much violence is acceptable in American media, but sexuality is looked down upon as if something like watching someone die on screen is less challenging than watching someone experience pleasure, which comes from our Puritan roots. We have problems. America needs to go to therapy, but we'll be okay. Working on it.
It'll be fine, but yes, it does come down to effectively what the nation is built on, and that's the same for the UK as well.
Oppression of others.
Yeah, pretty much the steps that were taken in order to ensure its dominance in the world.
War, murder, slavery, oppression.
Yeah, there's a reason why.
What are we talking about?
You have so much money.
What are we talking about? We're talking about a Puritan society. Okay, that's where we came from.
Yeah, that's where we're coming from.
All right. So, let's I don't know if I'm making noise that is me transitioning.
But then you also said, like, why Last Action Hero?
I don't know. That's the first thing I thought about when I thought about action.
You saw that poor Asian guy had a fucking ice cream cone in the back of his head, and then Arnold's like, ice that guy.
I fucking love that movie. That movie is so good. I love Arnold.
I love it when the kid's in the car. I can't remember his name, and he's just like, hold on, why is there music playing?
Let's get pizza after this and watch Last Action Hero.
Yeah, that movie's not too bad. Like, Charles Dance is like,
oh, great. With the glass eye.
I have shot a man.
If you want to talk about some amazing lines, you've been thrice fucked by the very best.
Furious jumping. Yeah. Yeah, there was another one.
Oh, there's so many.
So, like, my favorite line in the entire film is easily one of the most innocuous ones. And it just opens a scene, and it's just, that woman's on fire, look. And there's literally a woman in the background who's on fire. There's 2 occasions in the movie, and I didn't realize this. There's 2 occasions where a woman's hair goes on fire. And one of them is on the boat, and then Ruffalo looks, and they're like, look at that. Her hair's on fire. And then you cut to the autopsy room, and the fucking corpse's hair is on fire for no reason. And the maid, or like the surgical assistant, is like fanning it out. And there's no explanation as to why this dead body's suddenly had her hair catch alight.
That's awesome.
It doesn't make any sense, but it's fucking hilarious. I also like the fact that it's, when they're having that conversation, it's just before the dinner scene they're having the dancing scene, and then they're in the same location, and Bella's like, well, you're obviously talking about his penis, and it's like, yeah, Duncan's can sometimes be salty.
Yeah.
So there's a
rollicking.
lot, rollicking, yeah, it's like, I'm gonna go punch that baby. Like,
why
all those,
keep it in my mouth if it is revolting?
Of course.
Yeah, punching the baby is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably one of the best comedy zooms in the film, is where they zoom in on, like, oh no, there is actually a fucking baby there. There is definitely a baby there. Yeah.
I mean, also just Mark Ruffalo screaming, cunt!
We've done a fantastic job of not really talking about the movie and talking about how it was made, because it would be spoiled if you kind of listen to us just go on scene for scene about what it's about.
But I would do it for days. I love this still. That's thrice watching this film, and I'm like, I love it. I love it so much. I was sending you GIFs about it on WhatsApp. Like, I love it. We've been asked to do this movie several times, so I'm glad that we're satiating our listeners.
Well, it's come out. This episode is coming at the perfect time where it's coming out on. Is it already out on Blu-ray, or it's coming out on Blu-ray?
It just came out. Well, I mean, by the time of this recording, it's been out for a few weeks.
Oh, okay. So it's out on Blu-ray. It's also out on Hulu. So if you have your
Disney.
subscription, and yes, also if you have Disney, you'll be able to get it on there as well. As they have
Bella Baxter,
They have partnered
Disney
up.
princess.
She is a Disney princess, yes, which is wild. Isn't there some sort of there's super fucked up stuff on Disney right now where like
It was weird watching it on Disney. I gotta say, I liked it.
yeah.
You remember the singer in Lisbon in the film? I just want to bring it back to this woman because I thought it was interesting.
No.
She was on the balcony and playing that beautiful song, and Bella Baxter was kind of staring at her. It was a moment before she barfed up all of her tarts in Lisbon in the beginning of the film.
Okay.
Anyway,
But
her
then she
name
gets laid as well, right? Or like that kind of caps off that moment. She gets laid by a guy in the alleyway.
Well, you never see any of that. I think that might be later.
Okay.
But it's her first time kind of being loose and getting free and being alone and just exploring.
Right.
And she eats all those
Yeah,
tarts and she
what are you
listens to
getting at?
music. Anyway, her name is Carmina and she's a Portuguese fado singer from Lisbon. And so Yorgos sent her an email about doing a cameo. And Carmina goes, maybe someone should play guitar. And Yorgos was like, I don't want a man to do it specifically. But Carmino did not know how to play guitar, but she goes, let me get some time to get back to you. So she took 1 week, learned how to play this one song on guitar, and then told him she'd do the film.
All right.
So she specifically learned how to play guitar so she would be in the film.
I like the fact that she didn't want a man specifically to do it. But then it would have also have been weird if there was another woman there who was also
Like if
playing
someone
the guitar.
else was there playing
If someone
guitar.
else was there, it would be weird.
Because she's a singer by trade, so she's like...
Of course, but until you told me that, I would not have known that.
Of course.
It would have just been a case of just like, there's a woman and it's Lisbon, and it's kind of stereotypical in a way. Where it's kind of, there's a woman on the balcony singing and she has a guitar.
It's beautiful, though.
Yeah, so it's like a nice moment.
All right. How are we feeling? Are you ready to do the wrap-up?
Yes.
So there were some accolades if you guys didn't know that this film was nominated for several Academy Awards.
What?
Yeah. 11 total.
How did that happen?
This is Mark Ruffalo's 4th nomination for Best Supporting.
Oppenheimer was the big winner this year.
Well, no, he didn't. Yeah, I mean.
What happened to Barbie?
Oh, yeah. What did happen to Barbie?
Yeah, that's a shame.
Love Barbie. Emma Stone, obviously, we already said, won her 2nd Oscar for Best Actress.
She did, yeah.
And Poor Things also won for Best Production Design, Makeup and Hairstyling, and Costume Design. If I could wear Bella Baxter's big puffy shirts and little silky shorts, I'd be a happy camper. I would.
Yeah, I don't know how happy a camper I would be.
I love it.
Yes.
Ruffles and like pirate style ruffles.
It seems very kind of like Victorian clothing. Feels very restrictive. There's a lot of barriers there. It basically is, it's excluding the need for human contact.
That's interesting.
It's like it's like 80s shoulder pads.
Which I also love.
Yeah.
I love because women want to have big shoulders because they're big, strong ladies and they don't need no man, just like Bella Baxter.
That's fine. That's why you have to pad them out because you don't have real shoulders.
I don't have big, yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Let's do this. So, visibility and context. For me, I didn't write it down, so I'm doing it off the cuff.
Well, try your best.
Let's do 4.
Okay.
4. Oh, God, it could probably be higher. It could probably be higher. I'm going to leave it at 4 just because the ratio is off, but I think that is just because of the way that the film is. It's not there's no focus on men. So it makes sense for it to not be balanced in terms of female versus male nudity. It doesn't need to be balanced. So it could potentially be higher. So take my 4 with a grain of salt. I think it's interesting that the variety that we have It's certainly not a variety that we particularly got in something like Zola, which had a crazy variety of different full frontal male nudity. But I think that in the terms of the story, it makes sense. If there wasn't a penis in this movie, I would be freaking out. But that's not the case. Ryan?
So I'd probably go higher. I'd say like a 4.5, just because of how much you do see. And I do think it's particularly clear. I think anything that's almost central to frame, or at least in the middle, wouldn't say quadrant, but in the middle third. I think anything that is apparent there, I think you have to give high marks to. Because most films kind of they gimp out and they just don't show it either at all, or it's kind of hidden away, or they cut away from it super fast. In this case, it's there for a decent amount of time, and it's in a wide shot because the majority of this film is in wide anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'd say like 4.5 because like the context makes sense as well, because we're primarily fixated on this being a sexual situation. But the thing that I kind of respect from it as well is that it's playful. There's not a kind of menacing element to it. Certainly we can talk about like the dead dicks and stuff, but again, that's also incredibly playful. It's also kind of blackly comic. So a lot of what kind of happens here is like we're kind of edged into it with this first client, and then we kind of see something that's maybe a little bit more playful, although I would go as far as to say that it's kind of creepy. But like when that obviously that that moment happens, it is meant to be more playful just because of how the characters are. So I would say it's kind of closer to a 4.5, I would say. Now to say could the film have afforded to have more? Probably. Does it need it for a storytelling aspect? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it is there, and you do get your fair share. And do I think it's balanced in terms of like the male to female nudity? I mean, because Emma Stone's the star, and she spends quite a long period of the film either naked or in states of undress, it's probably not particularly balanced, but the ball is particularly in her court. Like the control is there. So
yeah, for sure, she has full control over that of her body.
Yeah,
all times.
She's not being exploited. There's no exploitation going on. So
no, it's a beautiful thing.
Film time.
5 stars. I love this movie so much. I love this movie. I give it 5 stars to start. I give it 5 stars the second time and the third time. I don't know when I will think less of it. I find it enjoyable. There's not a single moment that I find slow. The only part that I don't like as much is kind of further towards the end, where she meets a husband character that scares me.
Yeah, that's the only part of the movie where I'm like, yeah, but I think it's essential
it's so important. It's so important. I love when she comes out of that, and it's like it's just memories from a life I didn't live.
Yeah,
and I know that's not exactly what she said, but it's horrifying. But I think she fucking takes care of it, and I love it. I love this movie. It's fun. It's funny. It's sad, but it's at times, but it's just really hopeful, and I think it's just freaking great.
Yeah. It's an incredibly well put together piece of filmmaking, from the way it looks to the performances and stuff. I remember when we saw it in the cinema, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was like 4.5. And I always feel like that 4.5, I never want to feel disingenuous, but if I give something 4.5, it always has the potential to become 5 at some point. If something becomes an instant 5, then it's always a 5. But I feel like a 4.5 always has the potential to be a 5. It's never disingenuous. So for me, I laughed a lot during this movie, and I kind of probably respect it a lot more, so I did give it a 5 this time.
Oh my god!
I was going to give it
Oh
a
my God.
4
I'm falling off my damn chair right now.
because of the length. I do feel like the film could be tightened up a little bit.
I don't know where.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where
I
either.
agree that runtime is rough to look at. You go, oh man, that's going to take forever. It doesn't feel like it at all.
It doesn't. It's incredibly entertaining, and I certainly think when Mark Ruffalo comes into the picture, that's when the film's like it starts to breeze by.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gave it 5 because there's more things about it that I like than I dislike, which I think is every film I've ever gave a 5 isn't perfect, but it's close to perfect. Because I don't think any of the films that I love the most are perfect films, but they're the ones that have that I've taken with me through the years of my life that have characterized me and interested me enough that I'm like, yeah, no, I could watch that time and time again, and I will never be bored by it. So
there you go. That's art.
Can we go get pizza now?
Yes. Coming to you from a beautiful balcony in Lisbon, I've been Laura.
Did you fuck that guy with hooks for hands?
I know you did, you bitch.
What was that bit where the dad teaches his kids about sex?
A bit of choking will do the trick.
Help him along. And they got to see his dad like...
Or a finger in the asshole.
Well, she fucking winks at them.
That was...
And one of them's barely a teenager.
Yeah. One of them was taking notes.
Anyway, 5 stars.
5 stars!